Hey Alamal, Richard Mitzelfan here. I'm bringing you guys a brand new 2021 album review. And today we're going to be looking into the new album from the band Epica entitled Omega, which was released today under Nuclear Blast Records. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Epica, they're a symphonic metal band hailing from the Netherlands, and they've been around since 2002. And I discovered Epica about 7 years ago, probably since around 2014 or so. I don't know, somebody posted about it and I went and checked them out. I really dug it. And I mean, I own quite like five of their albums. And these guys have been putting out their albums since their first album, which came out the year that they formed, called Cry to the Moon. And I thought that was a pretty good album. Or that was actually an EP. Sorry, I fucked up there. So, yeah, and then their actually debut full length, which came out a year later, 2003, is called the Phantom Agony, which I thought was a really great album. And same thing with the one after that called the Consigned to Oblivion, which I think was great. But I think they pretty much found themselves at their third album, The Divine Conspiracy, which from their third album they have like a lot more progressive metal influences in there, and they also incorporate a lot of like thrash metal and groove metal as well. Well, and then this the band's overall eighth full length album, Omega is, and this follows up their previous album, which came out in 2016, called The Holographic Principle. But and I thought it was a pretty good album. So 5 years since the last Epic album, does this kind of live up or exceed what the Holographic Principle does? In my opinion, I feel like they definitely have. Like for me, Epica, well, I think they have a sound in the formula that they stick with. I could definitely tell, excuse me, that they experiment a lot with their sound, like incorporating like different styles, like thrashy kind of riffs, even death metal and melodic death metal. Mainly the death metal is mostly in like the harsh vocals from Mark Jansen. Yeah, and I don't know, just like a lot of progressive elements, like especially from the last couple albums, having like long songs and just have like different vibes, different moods, and different parts, and just the different tempo changes and everything is amazing. I'll just talk right into it. Production wise, fantastic as always. Epica has great production, just everything where it needs to be. It's just all there. The vocal work, let's just talk about Simone Simons. In my opinion, I think she's a great vocalist. Like, she puts so much emotion and just power into her singing, and she just does a great job. But the same thing with Mark Jansen's vocals. He does like more of the harsh vocals, and I just kind of love the contrast where Simone's has like just beauty and grace, and just Mark just sounds really just fucking sick. And just the riffing thing from Mark is just great. He just comes with some great riffs, and just the leads from Isaac Delahaye is just fucking great. The bass is kind of a little bit audible. Rob Vanderloo's bass is pretty much heard, and just the keyboard playing from Koen Jensen. And like the keyboards, like I mentioned, like in pretty much in some like symphonic metal or melodic death metal, I feel like the keyboards just really just add a lot more depth and atmosphere to it. And just drumming wise, Arian, like I think he's a great drummer. He's been with them since 2007. I think he's a great. So yeah, without further ado, I probably rambled on for almost 4 minutes. Let's just dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is Alpha Antiboolean, which I think is a pretty good way to start this album. Just kind of gives you a little bit of taste of what to expect to come. Just some really just very epic sounding, just no pun intended. And then it just leads into the next song being Abyss of Time, Countdown to Singularity, which just sets things off just all right from the get go. Just really just a full charge. I just like the vocal dynamics between Simone and Mark, just kind of show like the heaven and hell kind of like a call and response, and it just really just a great song, pretty much a great way to start off the album. And then we move on to the next song, which is called The Skeleton Key, which is kind of like slower compared to the last song, but has a lot more atmosphere to it. It's also dark and ghostly, has some heaviness with the guitars that accompany like Mark, that just sounds just like a stampede. Sea of Solomon, which I think this is good, but it just feels kind of just there unlike the previous songs. I mean, I feel like it like a more like a easy to digest single with has like large like dose of like the symphonic choruses that really just give it its power and momentum. Then we move on to the next song on the album is called Gaia. Yeah, which has a great rhythm. It just makes you just move, and just the rhythm is just from beginning to end. It's an all out good song. Code of Life, which kind of like opens up with a influence, kind of like very Middle Eastern sounding a bit, and it's just a pretty interesting song. Freedom, the Wolves Within, just takes no prisoners, just right from the get go. It's just a burst full of energy, and it just makes you just want it would feel well in a live setting whenever shows come back from the pandemic that we're in right now. Then we move on to the next song on the album, which is called Kingdom of Heaven Part 3, the Antiboolean Universe, which is actually the third part. The first part, of course, was on Design Your Universe, and then the second one was off of the Quantum Enigma. And this is a very just long song, just full of like arrangements, piano sounds, climax moments, a lot of like orchestration. And I think this is just the purest song in like Epica's like long song lengths. Yeah, great song. What I consider a really epic sound. Rivers, which just has like a very kind of like a moment of peace, and just has like piano and violins in the background. And I had just some really great vocals from Simone. It's just very melodic. It's a very ballady song, and I think it's really great. It really just showcases what Simone can do. Anyway, next song on the album is called Synergize, Manic Manifest. It just returns really just right back to the heavy, and it has a little bit more of a darker kind of like tone to it. It has like a great like machine gun drumming. Like I said, just like the guitars in the middle of this song, which is really great and it really just stands out. Twilight Reverie, the hypnagogic state, which is just the fact like the second to last song on the album, and it just has a really just very contrasting song which goes in between like soft melody and powerful full notes, and it just has like a I don't know. I love how lyrically it just talks about like angels and demons. And then everything closes with Omega, Sovereign of the Sun Spheres, which is just a strong and aggressive song, and it works as a good goodbye to the album. It just never just lets up. It's just a good song. Now overall, Omega by Epica is a pretty good album. I really dig it. Like, these guys can do no wrong even after almost 19 years later. These guys are still so good at it. So if I give this album a score, I'm going to give Omega by Epica a perfect or solid 8.5 out of 10. So yeah, that's my review of the album, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the album, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.